A big hello and a very warm welcome to HSBC Mutual Fund presents Informed Investing Season 2 partnered by ET Now. In today's episode, we are exploring a major shift in how Indians build and manage wealth, moving from traditional real estate investments to the flexibility, liquidity and diversification that mutual funds offer. We'll discuss how younger investors are embracing digital goal-based investing, how hybrid funds and SIPs are helping gradually rebalance property-heavy portfolios, and hear real stories of evolving investment behavior. With that, our theme for today is from property to portfolios, as we explore the evolving mindset of investors shifting from traditional real estate to modern goal-based mutual fund investing. Joining us today are Kailash Kulkarni, CEO, HSBC Mutual Fund; Vineet Nanda, founder, SIFT Capital; Sarvanand S., co-promoter, Purple Pond Financial Planners; Raman Agrawal, founder, Santushti Capital. Let me begin with you, and I really don't want to ask you a very traditional question, but let me begin with this. Before entering into this industry, were you a firm believer in real estate as an asset class? This question is for all of you, huh? So one by one, yeah.
No, unfortunately not.
Really?
I just had one house in which
You're not an Indian then. How can you not believe in real estate? Weren't you told that with your first salary you should be having your first house? Start investing.
So I already had a house which my dad had bought.
Okay.
So thankfully I didn't need to do that.
Okay.
But yes, I did buy a bigger house when I shifted to Bombay.
Okay.
Because I needed to stay somewhere, and the last thing I didn't want to do was stay in a matchbox. So, after having lived in a little better place. So that was my actually first purchase in the sense from a real estate perspective. But if it's for your own use, I don't consider it an investment.
Okay,
it's for your own use. So that was the reason.
Raman ji, what about you?
मेरा मानना ये है कि कंजम्पशन के लिए तो ठीक है,
लेकिन क्या आप मानते थे कि रियल एस्टेट ही सबसे सही इन्वेस्टमेंट है? ये इंडस्ट्री में आने से पहले की बात कर रही हूँ मैं। नहीं मानते थे, आप भी नहीं मानते थे?
सही इन्वेस्टमेंट उनके लिए जिनके पास ब्लैक मनी होता था।
ओहो, हाँ।
क्योंकि वो एक सही जरिया है उसको पैसे खपाने का वहाँ पर।
हाँ,
तो मेरा पहला जो रियल एस्टेट में इन्वेस्टमेंट, या कहो कि मैंने जो अपना घर बनाया, वो अर्ली 40s में बनाया।
ओके,
बट
कुछ नया सुन रही हूँ मैं।
लेकिन जो है, अगर आपको इन्वेस्टमेंट करना है, तो इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए अगर आप मान लीजिए रेजिडेंशियल में जाते हैं तो वहाँ पर कोई यील्ड ही नहीं आती, 2-3% की यील्ड है सिर्फ।
वो तो बात सही।
और अगर आप कमर्शियल में जाएं तब भी 6-7% की यील्ड है।
What about you?
So I also eventually bought my house only when I was 42 years of age.
Okay.
And I enjoyed living on a rental yield of 2 to 3%.
Please tell me it was loan free then.
Leverage is actually very useful when you're buying real estate.
Okay.
I think it's financially prudent to take leverage because you pay 7-8% as EMI and you can make 13-14% on your investments.
Yeah.
So actually it's a good arbitrage available.
Right. What about you, sir?
Yeah, it's a traditional advice
Finally
by parents. Traditional advice by parents.
Okay.
I had a flat on my own and I had an investment, a flat for investment, had few plots also.
Right.
And all that, maybe after 10 years, realized these things are not working out.
Yeah.
Had to sell my flat, which was for investment, at a loss of 10 lakhs from the purchase price after 10 years. And the plot, probably I sold it inflation adjusted.
Okay.
That's the return that I got.
So now the trend is, or maybe just on the panel, that I'm trying to gauge the kind of outcome. Individual investments in real estates, number-wise, has gone down. Is this what people are actually witnessing, what you all also explained?
Yes, clear-cut discussions are happening with the people who help in financial planning, and people are, people love real estate in India. So they have bought a second flat, a third flat, a fourth flat,
So we have different concepts like
houses, weekend homes.
Yeah.
So people have started realizing that it's not really worth it because what people don't factor in is the maintenance cost, the taxes that you have to pay, all that. So even if you have put it out on rent, after all these costs go away, what have you actually made out of that property? So now, and especially after the COVID, you have started seeing people liquidating such assets and using that money to invest it more smartly. So they may not be taking full risk and putting it in equity mutual funds. They may be wanting to put into hybrid category. okay, or arbitrage category or something like that. But people are slowly but steadily either not investing more money into real estate. Also, people are shying away in a way that they want to, some of the assets they want to liquidate and put their money to use. And unless, you know, like Ramanji said, there is a certain section of society with a certain amount of cash. They continue to play around in this segment.
Alright. So, खरीदना ज़रूरी है, ये मानते हैं आप, सेल्फ कंजम्पशन के लिए हो कि वो भी नहीं करना चाहिए, बिकॉज आजकल वो भी हो रहा है. द रीजन आई एम आस्किंग यू इज, कोविड के बाद ये भी देखा गया है दैट लॉट ऑफ मिलेनियल्स डोंट बिलीव इन बाइंग अ हाउस, दे आर ओके विद लिविंग ऑन रेंट. अब उसके भी अपने साइड इफेक्ट्स हैं, यू नीड टू हैव योर प्रॉपर कैश फ्लो एक्सेट्रा, बट दैट यू हैव टू इंश्योर अगर आपकी EMI भी चल रही हो, है ना, तो सेल्फ कंजम्पशन के लिए खरीदें कि वो भी नहीं खरीदें?
सेल्फ कंजम्पशन के लिए बिल्कुल खरीदना चाहिए. देखिए, ये बात सही है कि कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि 2-3% पर जब आपको एसेट मिल जाती है तब आप जो है रेंट पर रहिए और क्यों अपना घर बनाइए. बट आफ्टर ऑल हम लोग इंडियंस हैं.
हाँ जी.
और हमारी रूट वही है, तो घर तो अपना होना चाहिए, छत अपनी होनी चाहिए. और जैसे मैंने अपना घर बनाया था, तो मैं आपको बताऊं कि घर बनाना, जैसे विनीत जी ने कहा कि लोन लेकर के घर बनाना चाहिए. क्योंकि लोन लेकर जब घर बनाते हो तो आपको 2 फायदे होते हैं. किस्त आपकी आज ही बंध जाती है कि 15,000 रुपये या वॉटेवर वो आपको देनी है 20 साल तक. इनकम आपकी 15 साल तक बढ़ती रहती है. तो आज तो आप स्ट्रेस आउट होकर के आप घर खरीद लेते हो, लेकिन 2-3 साल के बाद जैसे ही स्ट्रेस खत्म होता है वो फिर आपको ईज आउट हो जाता है कि ये सब ठीक है एकदम बिल्कुल. तो ऐसे ही मैंने भी अपना घर बनाया. और अगर आपको अपनी पर्सनल वेल्थ कुछ क्रिएट करनी है जो बिल्कुल स्क्रैच से निकल करके आ रहे हैं, ज़ीरो से आ रहे हैं, तो ये घर बहुत बड़ा रोल अदा करता है. बिकॉज ये इन टाइम मल्टीप्लाई हो जाता है. ये वेल्थ ऐसी बन जाती है जिसके बैकबोन, जो आपकी बैकबोन बन जाती है, जिसके बेसिस पर आपको फर्दर आप अपने लीवरेज करके और आगे बढ़ सकते हो.
पर वो घर की कीमत बढ़े ही ना तो?
अब वो डिपेंड करता है कि अगर आप
सर के साथ हुआ है ना, the prices did not go up,
Did not go up.
So this also happens then.
And I have a different story to say.
Sure, please.
He was saying, it happens on both sides. So people who have been with us for past 8-9 years, they made a good profit.
Okay.
The CAGR was very good, the growth was very good, portfolio growth was very good. We have seen them redeeming and buying bigger houses.
Right.
So
because you need to upgrade your life.
Yeah, upgrading their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So this is also happening. There are some retirees who were wanting to have a cash flow based on rental income. After having discussed, they have put the house on sale and now they are doing an SWP from mutual fund portfolio. So both are happening. The experience is like when somebody is benefiting from capital market, he moves into real estate for a better living lifestyle.
Right.
Somebody who is tired of tenant management or rental yield, then he comes into capital market to have a cash flow needs met.
Right.
This has been our experience in Chennai.
But then do you also agree that real estate prices and their appreciation has been very patchy?
Correct. So I think, to be fair, the reason why we are seeing now structural change happening is because 20 years back the financial markets were also not well developed, right?
True.
I think the regulator has played a great role in creating consumer confidence, and now when people have had a 10-15 year investment history, they've seen various cycles, they have also realized the value which is coming by investing into financial assets vis-a-vis being more leveraged towards real estate.
Right.
Also, I think it's playing out differently for different, I think, age segments which are there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So the younger generation
I was just coming on that only.
Yeah.
True.
So the younger generation is far more mobile today than they were 20 years back, right? Now, when you're mobile and in a situation where your city, your company potentially could change every 3-5 years, you don't want to commit to real estate also because you don't want a situation where you buy something and then you move cities, right? And also younger generation is happier spending on experiences rather than spending on physical assets. So it's not only playing out in terms of real estate, but even I would say vis-a-vis, let's say buying a car, vis-a-vis Ubering it,
totally.
all those concepts are playing out.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why, let's say, the percentage of real estate exposure as percent total assets for, let's say, people under 40 is probably less than 30%, right? Now that number still is higher for people who are older, but for them also it's coming down. And for them it's playing out differently. Because those people are already more leveraged for real estate. So, and in many situations they have kids overseas, there's no one to actually look at assets. So they are also now reducing their exposure so that not only they are able to create better returns, but transmission to the next generation in financial assets is far easier compared to real estate.
Real estate, exactly.
So there are aspects of returns, there are aspects of mobility, there are aspects of succession planning. All these factors are gradually, driving this structural change per se.
Exactly, exactly. You have a daughter, so would you second with all of those thoughts that?
100%.
Yeah.
So because we've seen cases or heard of cases where out of fancy, because somebody said, yeah, this project is one of the best, it'll take off, you'll get a very high rental yield, and you invested in that project. And that project took off. But then at the end of the day, when you wanted to liquidate, it took 6 months or 9 months, and you actually wanted the money quickly. And then it was not a buyer's market. Yeah, so then, or a seller's market at that point in time, and then you kind of lost out. So every city has its different charm, but not necessarily you make the money like you used to. Also, one of the important things we have to understand that after the RERA Act came into being, the people who are close to the builders, who used to invest money and, they could get a pop because before it went to the public and you had a pre-placement kind of thing, those things kind of became very less or disappeared to a large extent. That has also facilitated the fact that you may not get the kind of returns that you have and what you have seen. And the only beauty about real estate, let me try and put a spin to it, is you've bought it at say 1 crore, you generally end up selling it at 1.5. So what people see is I have made an appreciation of 50 lakh. But what they don't realize is in how much time and how much money has gone into upkeep of the apartment, taxes, all those things they don't see. So what they see is they bought at 1, they sold at 1.5, and they hence the belief that real estate always makes money for you is very, and nobody does a CAGR or there is no NAV like in mutual funds for real estate.
Exactly. With that, we'll take a short break, but this special episode of HSBC Mutual Fund presents Informed Investing Season 2 partnered by ET Now continues on the other side. We'll be right back. Welcome back to HSBC Mutual Fund presents Informed Investing Season 2 partnered by ET Now. रेरा की ही पॉइंट को मैं आगे ले जाते हुए, हालांकि रेरा कानून अपने आप में बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन ये राज्य का अपना अपना कानून है और सम रेराज आर वेरी शार्प, लाइक महारेरा इज़ रियली वेरी गुड. बाकी स्टेट्स में ऐसा हाल नहीं है. तो आजकल अब आप जब घर खरीदने जाते हो तो कभी बिल्डर की क्वालिटी आपके जहन में आती है, कभी जगह की एप्रिसिएशन आपके सवाल में आती है, लेकिन व्हेन यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन म्यूचुअल फंड्स, मैं थोड़ा सा कंपैरिजन सवाल पूछ रही हूँ आपसे. रेगुलेटर अपने आप में बहुत मुस्तैद है, बहुत आगे आता है, हमेशा आगे आ जाता है. रिटर्न्स भी अगर आप बने रहेंगे तो ज़्यादा ही कमाएंगे. कैसे आप कंपैरिजन बताएंगे इसका?
देखिए, रेरा की जहाँ तक मैं बात करूँ, अभी अभी मेरे साथ एक इंसिडेंस हुआ. अच्छा. मेरे एक क्लाइंट हैं, वो रियल एस्टेट में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे थे 2008 से, और आज वो मेरे पास आए, वो कह रहे हैं मेरे पास 8 प्रॉपर्टीज़ हैं ऑल लिटिगेशन में.
ओह. और
रेरा से भी उनको जो है सारे वो मिल गए हैं, ऑर्डर्स हो गए हैं, सब कुछ हो रहे हैं, बट वो ऑर्डर्स एग्जीक्यूट नहीं हो रहे. उनको पैसा नहीं मिल रहा. वो बस अब आपने कहा ना महाराष्ट्र का बहुत अच्छा है और अपने अपने राज्यों के सारे हैं, तो वो ऑर्डर हो जाता है लेकिन एग्जीक्यूट नहीं होता. तो अब वो कह रहे हैं कि मैं 55 का हो गया हूँ, मुझे अपनी रिटायरमेंट प्लानिंग करनी है, कोई दूसरी सोर्स ऑफ इनकम नहीं है. तो आज उनके पास जितना पैसा था, उन्होंने कहा कि ये तो डाल करके मेरी आप रिटायरमेंट प्लानिंग शुरू करिए, और जैसे जैसे पैसा आएगा वो पैसा मैं इसमें डालूंगा.
ओह माय गॉड. 8 प्रॉपर्टीज आर टॉकिंग अबाउट.
8 प्रॉपर्टीज ऑल इन लिटिगेशन.
तो कैसे किया आपने उनकी रिटायरमेंट प्लानिंग, ये बताइए मुझे. तो वो जानना है, बिकॉज इतना बड़ा कमाई का जरिया 8 प्रॉपर्टीज, मतलब यहाँ पे तो
अब ये कि जो लेफ्ट ओवर है उनके पास, और जो बाकी भी आने वाला है, तो वो उसके साथ
पहले
स्टार्ट
आपने
करें।
उनको समझाया कैसे? बिकॉज फॉर समवन हु हैज 8 प्रॉपर्टीज, मतलब उनका पूरा जिंदगी का बैकअप होगा वो रिटायरमेंट का। आपने उनको बताया कैसे कि आपने गलत किया है, आप पहले क्यों नहीं आए मेरे पास? हाउ डिड यू टेल दैट टू
देखिए,
हिम?
मुझे बताने की बजाय वो सिचुएशन ने उनको बता दिया। जब 8 केसेस चलेंगे और वकीलों के चक्कर काटेंगे वो, तो उनको खुद ही पता चल रहा है कि दिस इज नॉट माय कप ऑफ टी। और वो थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट करते थे मेरे साथ में, अब उनको पता चल रहा है कि यार यहाँ पर लिक्विडिटी भी है, सेफ्टी भी है, रिटर्न्स भी हैं, और जहाँ हम जा रहे थे वहाँ तो कुछ भी नहीं है। और आज की डेट में मैं एक पॉइंट और कहना चाहता हूँ कि प्राइस पॉइंट इतना हाई हो गया है प्रॉपर्टीज का कि वो रीचेबल ही नहीं रहा है। इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट। अगर आप छोटा सा भी एक फ्लैट लेने के लिए चले जाओ, हमारे लखनऊ में ही जो है 1-1.5 करोड़ से कम का नहीं है, और लिक्विड और जो है वो बढ़ती जा रही है, आपकी सप्लाई बढ़ती जा रही है।
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, इन्वेंट्रीज बनती जा रही है, लगातार बनती जा रही है, डिमांड उतनी है नहीं है। कैसे?
क्योंकि अब इन्वेस्टर नहीं है ना।
राइट, यूर एन इन्वेस्टर।
पहले इन्वेस्टर होता था, पहले कैश होता था, इन्वेस्टर होता था, तो वो उसको ड्राइव करता था। अब आज ना कैश है ना इन्वेस्टर है, क्योंकि उतना बड़ा एक नंबर का पैसा कौन लिख करके लगाएगा उसके अंदर।
So you know what? This is the most important point. The cost of liquidity. People have started to realize today. I think that is the big thing which is driving this change. So that percentage which you mentioned right at the start, that in the overall asset allocation it's coming down for real estate, one of the big drivers is actually the cost of liquidity. Is in a mutual fund, even if the markets have crashed, if somebody puts in a redemption, they know T+2, they are going to get their money back in their bank account. That has value.
But all these points are getting addressed. Maybe we are in a very nascent stage of REITs.
I was just coming to that question.
Yeah,
Why not
fraction
have
holding.
REITs?
Fraction holding of. The younger generations are very much attracted towards fraction holding of the real estate. So it is not a question of portfolio or property. It is a question of portfolio and property. But property in a new avatar like REITs and invites. So we have 4 listed REITs, and now the rental yields or the dividends they call it, it is around 5 to 6%. And if you look at REITs, the cash flows are pretty stable.
Okay.
Volatility is very less. So if somebody is looking at a risk-adjusted return, probably the REITs might score. If you take the developed countries, 90% of the real estate people hold are through the REITs form. So India, it is just beginning to attract investors.
In REITs right now.
No, you have specific REITs also which will be coming up in the due course. You will have residential REITs, you will have mall REITs, you will have warehouse REITs, you will also have the hospital REITs. These are the famous REITs in European countries and US, and most of the retail participation in real estate in the developed country, they have it through REITs.
Okay.
India, it is beginning to start. So you have a total return, if you look at it, REITs, see 6% is your cash flow, and capital appreciation is also there. They somewhere talk about 12 to 14%. If this is beginning to realized by the investor, say 12 to 14%, then there will be a gradual shift of using real estate as a part of the portfolio through REITs. The liquidity, the tenant management, the tax structures, all these problems would be addressed in due course when people start using REITs as an instrument of investing into real estate. So again, the youngsters are getting attracted only because it is in a digital form, it is listed, they will be able to sell as and when they want. So the liquidity, the transparency.
Can that be an option for your backup income, like how people look at rental income from real estate?
Yes, it can be, because they are collecting the rent. It's a long-term lease agreement. See, the people who occupy those office complexes are people with long-term rental agreements. So there is a continuity of income. Every quarter they get the distribution of rent. So that can be a very good cash flow generating instrument for people who are in need of cash flows for their post-retirement or for any other specific purpose. So REITs can become on a longer period of time. You can, and REITs also gives you capital appreciation when there is a changeover of tenant. if somebody comes and occupies, there is a rental increase and there is a stated inflation adjusted increase every year. All that is documented, and way to go is fractional holding of real estate, and most of the youngsters are looking at that.
We also have REITs as an option for investment, REITs and InvITs and multi-asset allocation funds, but that's a very small amount.
Very small amount, and probably all the MFs are beginning to look at in the multi-asset portfolios. They are beginning to look at
what is
invites.
In fact, the regulator has right now put out a discussion paper in terms of having REITs and invites
Hmm.
as a part of the overall where investments are allowed across the various funds. So I think these are developments, like you said, way in its infancy, but yes, picking up.
So, so when someone comes to you, okay, I'm talking about maybe any of your client, and they want to strategize across asset class. You obviously start with mutual funds. How do you look at it? And when it comes to asset allocation, do you really prefer advising them real estate for self-consumption? Do you actually do that?
Yeah, so I'll give you a live example which just happened in one of the cities I visited last week. And this is a tier 2 city, not a tier 1 city. Very powerful when it comes to real estate. Because everybody wants to invest in real estate. There is this gentleman who I was speaking to who advises many people on financial planning. And one of the things Indians have in their DNA is they don't like to borrow. Okay, so what he says is, you are willing to commit to a house by taking a 15-year, 20-year loan, right? If you take a loan. But here you have a portfolio of funds. You are liquidating that and using that money to buy a house because you don't want to take a loan, right? He said, look at your portfolio, especially if it's a 15-year-old, 20-year-old portfolio. What has it given you? It's at least given you early teen returns, if nothing else, right? He says you're sacrificing early teen returns for the next 15 years for a 7 to 8% loan. How are you balancing the two? So actually for the first house, you cannot tell an Indian, don't buy a house. It becomes very difficult. The younger generation, like Arun said, it is possible to tell them, fractionalization. But if somebody is 30 plus and you tell them don't buy a house, he says, no, I've been born, brought up, raised in that way that I need to buy a house. So now the people are willing to take loans without hurting their portfolio. So while the power of compounding is happening on their portfolio, they are willing to pay that 7-8% on their home loan and balance the two. So you cannot say no. So like the youngsters, if somebody is 25 and you tell them, no, you sacrifice your lifestyle to start investing because you'll be very rich when you turn 45, he'll tell you to go take a walk. Okay? You can't tell him to sacrifice his lifestyle because for them, lifestyle is very important. So you have to see how you can balance the two. So when people come to us, we have to check the balance. You can't tell them to sacrifice completely something.
Exactly. So for if it's
self-occupied property, I think everyone has one. And there is no second thought about it. Everyone ought to have, because that's an emotional connect. Okay. I was just talking to one of my clients on gold and digital gold. Then she immediately sprung up and said, what? Can I wear a paper when I go to the social occasions? So that is kind of reactions you will get when you touch the emotional card when it comes to owning a self-occupied property, a property for self-occupied, because it's too much emotionally connected. That too, with the house lady, it will be very close to heart. So first house, any advice, any amount of advice, as Mr. Kailash said, will not get into the ears.
But see, has to distinguish between lifestyle, self-use, like you buy a car, it's a depreciating asset, but it's about the lifestyle. So I think you have to distinguish between real estate for lifestyle and real estate as an investment. Because when you're talking about lifestyle, then you don't really look at the return on it so much. You look at more in terms of from a socioeconomic perspective, from a location perspective, from a size of house perspective, your family size perspective, how does it kind of fit in for you? When you look at it as an investment, then it's about what are the asset classes available for investment. Then you look at what is your comfort level with asset allocation, and then you look at what is the return which you get, because every asset class has different features in terms of liquidity, returns, and therefore there is certain amount of financial wisdom.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of emotional comfort which goes into it, because investment has to be a matter of pleasure, not pressure, and therefore sometimes people may be willing to sacrifice returns for personal or even at times domestic peace of mind.
मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो है वो अगर आप इक्विटी को देखेंगे, मान लीजिए बाजार को देखें, तो पिछले 5 साल में एवरी 5 years मार्केट डबल हो जाती है, मोटा मोटा 5 साल में पैसा डबल हो जाता है। अब अगर आपके सामने 2 सिनेरियो हो कि आप इन्वेस्टमेंट करिए प्रॉपर्टी में या इन्वेस्टमेंट करिए म्यूचुअल फंड या इक्विटी में, तो आपके लिए कौन सा ज़्यादा आसान है प्रेडिक्ट करना कि जहाँ पर पैसा डबल आपका हो ही जाएगा। और एक पर्सन के जो अर्ली 30s में है उसके जीवन में 6 कंपाउंडिंग उसको मिलती हैं। अगर 1 करोड़ से स्टार्ट किया उसने और 1 कंपाउंडिंग भी उसने मिस कर दी तो उसको 32 करोड़ का घाटा हो जाएगा। तो जो बात अभी आप कह रहे थे कि अब धीरे धीरे लोग अर्ली स्टार्ट करने लगे हैं, वो आपको अर्ली स्टार्ट करना ही पड़ेगा। अगर आप अर्ली स्टार्ट नहीं करेंगे, आज 30 से स्टार्ट ना करके आपने 35 से स्टार्ट किया, तो समझ लीजिए 1 कंपाउंडिंग आपकी चली गई। और वो कंपाउंडिंग जो लास्ट वाली कंपाउंडिंग होगी, वो समझ लीजिए 1 करोड़ के ऊपर 32 करोड़ का हिट देगी आपको।
ओके, सो डिपेंड करता है कि आप कब शुरू कर रहे हैं अपनी
कब शुरू कर
और
रहे हैं,
वो ही ज़रूरी है।
हाँ, और यहाँ पर प्रेडिक्टेबिलिटी ज़्यादा है इक्विटी में रिटर्न्स बनने की रियल एस्टेट से। रियल एस्टेट में 25 साल रखेंगे तो कितना बनेगा, आई डोंट नो, बट यहाँ पर बनना सर्टेन है, विद लिक्विडिटी ऑल्सो।
Alright, so it's for self-consumption, it's a thumbs up, but otherwise you really need to plan your investments as far as real estate as an asset class is concerned. And yes, you have an edge over there with regards to mutual funds where you can strategize investment across asset classes. But having said that, it's a wrap on HSBC Mutual Fund presents Informed Investing Season 2, partnered by ET Now. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.